Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to all. I hope my voice clear.
Yes,
Okay, everybody can hear me, right?
Doctor.
Okay. Uh, this is our third session for our Edutech Postgraduate Bootcamp, and today is my session. The topic is formulating research problem, research question, and research objective. So, straight to the point, because we only have 1 hour. When we talk about research problem, research objective, and research question, this is one of those things that can make or break your entire research journey. Okay, think like we pick a right movie. If you choose a wrong movie, you will be waste your time 2 or 3 hours. Okay, and it will keep you wondering why you started in the first place. But here, when we talk about research problem, it's not about 2 or 3 hours. In research, it could mean 3, 4, or 5 years. Or, and if you particularly found with your supervisor and your research problem, maybe even 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. We don't know, but that's only not the ideal situation. So let's make sure we get it right from the start. A well-defined research problem gives you a clear direction, a clear focus, and a clear purpose. So a clear research problem will save you lots of time and effort and save you from headaches down the road. So we start. Okay, we start with this slide or this cartoon from Randy Glassbergen is quite popular for postgraduate students. In this cartoon, we see a teams that come up with an innovative solution. It's like a UTM mission, not mission, what we call innovative solution. Okay. So as you can see in this cartoon, these teams come up with an innovative solution, but they are still searching for a problem it can solve. So this may sound humor or funny, but in research, this can happen quite often. For example, you register with in mind that you want to do research related to augmented reality or artificial intelligence or mobile learning. You already have that solution, that innovative solution, but you don't know what's the problem that you want to tackle. Okay, so it can happen quite often in research. So while tempting to jump straight to the solution, research should ideally start with a genuine problem, not the solution yet. Even though in our educational technology, we tend to focus on the solution first. We tend to focus on what we already know about the technology, what we love about technology. As I did mention earlier, you come up with the solution first. The augmented reality, the mobile learning, the social learning, the whatever technology enhanced learning, because you know you register for educational technology program, so you focus on the solution. Ideally, you need to find a problem first. Okay. For example, imagine you create a gamification learning environment or gamified learning management system, because that is your strength, that is your focus, that's your interest. But then you realize that students' main problem or main concern is they're feeling isolated in online classes. A problem that might be well addressed with a social learning environment, with a simple collaborative learning, with a simple interactive communication, not gamification, for example. So that's the main issue, that's the main problem if you start with a solution first. It can happen, but you need to align back with the proposed technology that you want to propose. So let's aim to find the right problem first, then work towards so that it's relevant, valuable solution and technology. So now we move to the structured approach to formulating a research problem. Oh, okay. I'm quite old already, so I have to remind myself. I already record. Where is it? Yes. Okay, this is the outline. As I did mention, we only have 1 hour to talk about 3 important topics. So I try to summarize, or I try to focus, even though that's one of my main problem is to focus, because I tend to share everything and then we don't have time. So there are 4 sections that I want to focus for today's session. First, we want to know what is the research problem all about. The second one is steps to formulate research problem. And then we move towards research objective and research question. The differences between research objective, research question, how to formulate research objective and research question. And for those from first semester, I'm sure you already know this from your past experience, whether if you are a PhD student, maybe during your master, if you're a master student, maybe during your undergraduate. When you write thesis, this is the main component of chapter 1. So as you can see, the topic that I color in red here is the topic that we're supposed to focus on your chapter 1, okay, for our today's session. Because before you can go for theoretical framework, the proposed solution, etc., you have to know what is the problem, you have to know what is the statement of the problem, you have to know, or you have to analyze and justify your research objective and research question. Before we go to that specific research objective, research question, and research problem, let's go over the basic elements that make up your research study. Before you can go to research problem, you need to have a research topic first. Think this as the key building block, okay? A key to open a door that structured your entire research project. Once you understand this, you will have a clear path from choosing a broad topic to more specific question, okay? From general to specific. This is the main issue. Sometimes, even though you already arrived to research question, there's a tendency or there's a research that still go broader, not deeper. We discuss a little about that later on when we talk about research objective. Because for postgraduate research, you cannot go broader. You need to go deeper. Once you choose your topic, you need to go deeper. Okay. So this is an example. Before we go to the research problem part, everybody have to understand research topic is a general. For example, let's say you have your target, your interest is online learning. That is your research topic. Or it can be distant education. It can be higher order thinking in online learning environment. That is all general. That is the research topic. That's the starting point. Not too specific yet, but it will set the direction of your study. Then from the research topic, we move to research problem. We narrow down to the research problem. For example, let's say your research topic is online learning, and the problem that you want to address is something related to disengagement of online learning students. Okay, so this problem gives you a clear focus. Then you have to move to problem statement or purpose statement. Okay, for example, you need to be more focused. Like this, like a mission of your research. For example, as I did mention earlier, if your problem is student disengagement in online learning environment, your purpose statement might be, the purpose of this study is to explore strategies for enhancing student engagement in online learning environment. It be more focused, meaning that you are not try to tackle all problem related to disengagement, but you like to focus on strategies to enhance student engagement. Based on that, you propose a research question and research objective. For example, maybe one of the research objective or research question is, what factors influence student engagement in online courses? So this is a general overview about the topic that we want to discuss after this with a clear example. I hope everybody understand what's the difference between topic is a big picture. Then you narrow down to research problem. Then you specify what is the problem and what your innovative solution that you want to propose. Then you specify everything in your research objective and research question. At any time, if you have any question, you can type in chat room or you just unmute your mic. Okay, here. Let's talk about what many consider the trickiest part of research. Formulating a clear, concise, and manageable research problem. Because you only have, for master, maybe you only have 2 years. For PhD, maybe 3 years, 4 years, up to 5 years. Try to limit not more than 5 years, okay? For grading on time, only 3 years or maybe 7 semester, 6 or 7 semester. So when we talk about research problem, formulating a clear, concise, and manageable research problem, it sounds simple, okay? But trust me, formulating a research problem is often a big problem. It's like standing in front of your canvas, a blank canvas or a computer screen, to figure out what masterpiece you want to create. You want it to be amazing, but where do you even start? Okay, where to start? Okay, and it's usually give you a headache. Because if there is no problem, there is no research. Because how can you solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is? So yes, finding the research problem is challenging. It's the problem of all problem in your life, okay? But once you get it right, it's like a striking goal. So hang in there. For those who are still looking for a good research problem to research, hang in there. And remember, you are not alone in this battle to find a good research problem. Okay, how to decide on topic or problem for your research? Or when do you even begin? Before we discuss in academic manners how to search the research problem, there are 3 common ways to choose topic. Once you register as a PhD or master student, when you meet your supervisor, okay, there are 3 options. First supervisor give you the first option. He or she hands you a topic or at least an area and say, okay, Wang Yaiping, for example, this is what you will be researching for the next 3 years. It's like when you ask for a movie recommendation, somebody say to you, watch this, trust me, because I'm your supervisor. Okay, that's the first choice. I'm not sure whether you like it or not. Okay, we go to the second option. Your supervisor don't give you a specific topic, but a list of menu or topic. It's like in a restaurant, there's a set of menu, you get to choose. Okay, for example, somebody, let's say one of my students came to me and I said, okay, For current trend, I want you to do whether artificial intelligence, augmented reality, mobile learning, or social learning. There are 4 choices because that is my current interest right now. For example, something like that. So you have 4 or 5 choices that you can select. That is the second option. The third option, your supervisor says, do whatever you want. Okay. For the next 2 weeks, try to propose 2 or 3 research problem or research focus to me, and we decide after that. This sounds like a dream, but bear with me. Okay. Most of the time, you realize you are suddenly overwhelmed with too many possibilities. This is when what should I research? Okay, because the choices is unlimited. You read article A, you find A. You read article B, you want to do something related to B. And then you read article C, you want to do C, and then after that, you back to A. And that's happened, that cycle for the whole 1 semester. Maybe you keep changing your research focus. So now don't expect that choose a research topic will be quick and easy. Some of you maybe it takes about 1 month. Some of you maybe it takes 2 or 3 months. Some of you maybe it takes 2 or 3 semesters. That's why you cannot present your proposal on your 3rd semester, because you keep changing your research focus. Okay, now I have to specify. Okay. It's hard to formulate a good answer to a bad question. A question well asked is question well answered. So let's talk about the importance of asking the right research question. Okay, as the slides say, think of this way: a well-asked question like a roadmap or maybe Google Map or maybe Waze. It guides you smoothly to your destination. But a poorly framed research problem and after that research question is trying, like you try to drive with no map and you don't know anything, you just drive without any clear purpose or direction. So before you jump to conclusion or you jump to specify your research problem, you need to know a simple, basic characteristic of a good research problem. The first one, clear and specific. Example, instead of tackling or try to solve a broad topic, for example, technology in education, it's too big, it's too broad, no clear focus. Okay, so you might focus on, let's say you choose one, the impact of interactive digital tools on student engagement in higher education. Still in the area of technology in education, but you focus on one tool, interactive digital tools, and the outcome that you want to tackle or the problem is student engagement, and the group audience is higher education. So it needs to be clear and specific. Sometimes you cannot have that in your chapter 1. Sometimes you move that area in your chapter 3. Okay? For example, there's a research that the student already confirmed. Okay, doctor. Okay, prof. I want to specify my target group is mathematics student in higher education. Mathematics in secondary school. Sometimes you still not clear about the subject or the target audience. You only want to focus student engagement in online learning, but it's still not clear whether you want to focus on certain subject or specific target group. So it depends. It can happen in general in chapter 1. Later in chapter 3, you specify, you justify the target group, the subject, etc. But if you already confirm your outcome, target group, etc., you have to add that in your research objective and your research problem. So it happen either way. General in chapter 1, specific in chapter 3, or specific in chapter 1, specific in research problem, specific in research objective, and specific in the title. Okay, for example, the title related higher education student in mathematics, or it can be simple, general in title in chapter 1, but it become a case study that you specify in your chapter 3. Okay, feasible and researchable, of course. For example, if you want to focus on the use of mobile apps in classroom, for example, you have to know that when you want to do the data collection, you have to know that your participant need to have access to that kind of technology. Okay, so it's feasible and researchable, and it can be conducted or it can settle within the available resource, time, and scope. For example, you have 4 years, for example. So you have to consider that whether you can settle everything in 4 years. And relevant and significant. Okay. This is also very important. For example, you love to do, because the current trend, when you read article about online learning, most of the article discuss about pandemic. Okay. Pandemic COVID-19. Last few years, yes, that is highly relevant to your study. How online learning impacts student performance during the pandemic. But now, if you still use the same issue in 2024 or 2025, that focus is not relevant anymore, not the focus, not significant anymore. So you cannot use pandemic COVID-19 as the main focus. So rather than trying to use COVID-19, better go for online learning itself. What are the lasting effects? How has it reshaped student engagement or learning outcome? Something like that. And don't rely on pandemic COVID-19 as your main issue or main problem. Eh? Okay, now we go for the specific step-by-step to formulate a research problem. I think I have already summarized to 5 or 6 steps. Eh? Okay, this one I already explained previously. You start with a broad area, and the area must align with your research interests. If your supervisor gives the broad area the topic, you need to discuss with him or her. Try to align his or her research interests with your research interests, with your skills and your capability. And also, if you're from university level, for example, you are a lecturer from university. So maybe your university or your faculty or department already specified. Okay. For example, Ahmad, you go to UTM, get your PhD, but you have to do research in this area, in micro-credential, for example. So you have to inform your supervisor, discuss so that your interest or your organization interest align with your supervisor interest as well. It's like a merit, you know. You cannot merit, you cannot love somebody, or you cannot merit somebody without love. So for research purpose, the same thing. You cannot love your research area, you cannot do your research, you cannot enjoy your research for the next 3 or 4 years without you feeling love with the topic or the research problem. Not a good example, but I hope you understand. Okay, for example here, this is a broad area of interest. Example, I give you 2 examples. For example, you like to learn to focus on VR, virtual reality in classroom setting, or AI for personalized learning experience. Okay, this is the broad area. So from that broad area, you move, before you can go specific to focus area, you cannot simply choose based on your experience. Yes, everybody have experience, everybody have prior knowledge, but in academic setting, in academic life, in postgraduate research, you cannot rely on your prior knowledge or your experience. You need to have a strong justification, a strong rationale, a strong support. And all that's usually come from literature review. You have to read. Okay? There are no specific how many articles you have to read, but you have to read. Okay? For example, when we talk about the VR and AR, previously AI. So you may find, when you search about VR, for example, you may find that much research focus on VR impacts on student engagement, but little explore its effect on critical thinking skill, for example. So that's a good research focus. So you can move towards from the VR in general towards VR and critical thinking. Okay? Same thing with AI. And all this from literature review. And for those from first semester or second semester, I'm sure you already registered, already passed one subject, research methodology section class, the modular system. You only have, I think, 6 classes. And one of the topic is academic writing or critical review, something like that. So you have to know it's not just simply simple literature review, but it's good for you to learn how to do citation analysis, bibliometry analysis, content analysis, meta-analysis, systematic review. Not all, just choose one or two technique. Or the most popular one is systematic literature review. Okay? This is the most popular among our postgraduate students, systematic literature review. So try to go YouTube or try to search for short course. Our faculty always provide this kind of short course. In 4 hours, you learn about how to do a critical analysis or systematic literature review, because based on this technique, you can get a clear focus from a broad topic, okay, to get a research gap like that. Or the basic thing is just read future research and limitation. For example, you download one article, you read the abstract, you read the introduction, and then you read the future research limitation or conclusion, or future research suggestion, something like that. Then you can notice or you can detect what is the proposed future research from that article. And based on that literature review or a critical analysis or whatever technique that you use, you can narrow down your topic to a specific problem or question. Okay. For example, here, based on the same topic, instead of focus on studying VR in classroom in general, you focus on how does the VR impact critical thinking in high school science student. Okay. For example, think something like this. If your friends ask you, what is your research? Okay. If your answer is we are in classroom, compared to I'm studying critical thinking with VR. There's two different angles. One sounds like you are changing the world. The other sound like you want excuse to play with a cool gadget in a classroom. Okay, so that's the difference between general and specific topic. Based on that, you write or you identify your problem statement. Try to write a clear, concise problem statement. Sometimes it's good before you write your little background of the problem. Try to summarize your idea into 1 or 2 paragraph problem statement. You can go inductive and you can go deductive. This is a reverse technique. You try to write your problem statement. Based on that problem statement, you expand, become a background of the problem. That's another one technique. Most of the time we write background of the problem, then we summarize as a statement of the problem. But sometimes if you think it's very hard for you to think about the specific problem that you want to tackle, try to summarize in 1 or 2 paragraphs first, and then you explain what is the real problem that you want to focus. And then after that, you formulate your research question or your research hypothesis. In educational technology, most of the time, not most of the time, sometimes we don't need research hypothesis. We only focus on research question. So for example, this is example, how does the use of AR in high school science class affect student critical thinking? So see, from general VR, now we have a specific research question that focus on science class and critical thinking abilities with the use of AR. Okay. Then don't jump to conclusion yet. Don't set your focus straight to the point you want to write your thesis. You need to evaluate your research problem. You need to think whether you can settle all the issue or problem related to the research problem in amount of time that you have, 3 years or 4 years. Or maybe about the technology itself, as I did mention earlier. You love about VR, you love to do with mobile, but then if you do experimental research, you have to think about how you want to collect data. Which student, which school, or which faculty that all the students have VR or mobile gadget to be your respondent. So you have to think about that. Sorry. Because if, let's say, you want to collect your data in school around your place, but most of the school only have an old projector or outdated desktop computer, then you have a problem. Okay, you have to think about that. Okay, so next question after this is how to transfer your research problem into research objective or research question. But before that, we take break for 2 or 3 minutes. Please scan your attendance. And also for those who cannot scan, I will put that in the chat room, the link. Okay, please scan your attendance for certificate. So I give about 2 minutes for you to give all the details before we move to research objective and research question. Okay, I hope everybody already scanned the QR code and fill the Google form. For those who cannot scan, the link is in the chat room. Now we move to the second important topic, which is research objective, research question, and how to formulate a good research question that align with your research objective. Okay, we move on. Okay, first, I'm sure most of you, if not all, already clear what is research objective, what is research question, and you have to know the differences between research objective and research question. Even though this is very basic, sometimes as an examiner, we found that some students still not clear about what the difference between research objective and research question. And that is very sad, because this is very basic. If you cannot clarify or you cannot clearly explain what the differences between research objective and research question, then you will face a lot of problem during your proposal defense or viva session. I will show you a few other examples after this. Okay, this is only a general. You can find from the internet, you can Google, you can ask ChatGPT what is the research objective, what is research question. For example, you have to make sure research objective need to be aligned with your research problem. If the problem that you discuss is about online learning and engagement, don't discuss and suddenly in your research objective, you discuss about issues and challenges, for example. Nothing to do with online learning engagement. Or suddenly you have one research question asked about student acceptance. Nothing to do with engagement, something like that. So it need to be aligned with research problem. Yes, sometimes you can have one or two extra research objective only to get a general overview about student perception. But only the main research objective, 3 or 4 of your research objective already tackle the main research problem. Then maybe you can have one extra research question only to ask student perception about your learning environment. But that is not important. It's optional. And you don't have to have that kind of research objective. Okay? A good research objective, everything is aligned with your research problem, and it need to have continuity between research objective 1, 2, 3, maybe up to 4 or 5. Okay? And research objective should be limited to manageable numbers. Okay? And this is very subjective question because one of my students asked me, okay, how many research objective do I need to prepare for my PhD? There are no specific answer for that. Because sometimes one research can have 10 research questions, but it not up to PhD level. Maybe it's stopped at a master level. Because even though it's 10 research objective, everything is surface, everything is only general and not interconnected with each other. Compared to maybe one research that only have 3 research objectives, but it go deeper. It look beyond just a general research objective. But as a guideline, a good research objective usually between 3 to 6. Okay? If you can have 4 and 5, that's better. Because 3 meaning that you have to go deeper, very deep. Because 3 is that one we discussed later. Okay. Most of my students have between 4 to 6 research questions. But it depends on your supervisor. Because some research only have 2 research objectives. But based on that 2 research objective, that is the main research objective. For each research objective, then each research objective become 3 research questions. So even though you have 2 research objectives, maybe you can have 6 research questions. Okay, 3 plus 3. Okay, this is an example of research objective. There's a action word here, to evaluate. And then here, you can see the effectiveness. This is the technology part. And this is the outcome. So a good research objective have basic something like this. The outcome, performance, the technology part. Okay. And then sometimes you can add in higher education, in mathematics, among slow learners. Okay. If you already confirm your subject and your target group. This is general. Why research objective is really important? Because it will direct the research methodology. A good research objective, once you see or once you read the research objective, you know, oh, this is quantitative research. This student will use questionnaire. Oh, this is experimental research. And sometimes we can detect, oh, this is quasi-experimental research, or this is pre-experimental research. For example, if you have a research objective, for example, to evaluate the effectiveness of learning environment, your supervisor or maybe your examiner or your reader can detect, oh, this is experimental research. He or she will use a quasi-experimental research design. Why? Because you used to evaluate the effectiveness. Once you want to evaluate the effectiveness, meaning that you have a benchmark. How you want to say it's effective? Because you have a control group. So you have control group versus treatment group. So you go for quasi-experiment. Sometimes you can see research objective, for example, to evaluate the impact, not the effectiveness. Impact meaning we don't know whether it's effective or not. So maybe this is pre-experimental. Only have a treatment group without a control group. Why? Because even though the learning environment success, we cannot say it's effective because we don't have anything to compare. So we just mentioned about the positive impact, something like that. It's my mouse. Okay, the most important part, because most of the based on my experience as examiner, this is one of the problem that faced by some of the student, which is the research objective not aligned with the research problem. You need to confirm, as I did mention earlier, if you talk about engagement, so your research problem is about engagement, your research objective need to focus on engagement, not perception, not acceptance, not motivation, not performance, even though you can add that, but your main research objective need to be aligned with research problem, which engagement. So research objective number 1, you need to supposed to focus on engagement. Research objective number 2, engagement. At the end, maybe research objective number 6, maybe you want to check the acceptance. Not research objective 1 and 2 on engagement. 3, 4, 5 is nothing to do with engagement. You focus on acceptance, you focus on motivation, on performance, something like that. So you need to show the alignment between your research objective and research problem. And of course, you need to use the action word to analyze, to evaluate, to compare, to explore, to investigate. There are many action verbs, okay, that you need to try to, what we call, not, let's say you have 5 research objectives, try not to use every single research objective to investigate, okay? You need to have a rank. First, you want to investigate, and then you want to analyze. Third, you want to evaluate, so that you can see the depth of your research become deeper and deeper. And we go to this one, go deeper, not broader. This is the most problematic area based on my experience. The first one is the not alignment between research objective and research question. The second one is the research become broader, not deeper. What I meant by that, we see this one here. We check the example here. Okay, this is one complete research objective for postgraduate research. Try to take about 1 minute to read every single research objective. Or not, this is not research objective, this is research question. Sorry about that. This is research question. Yeah? What's the difference between research objective and research question? Research objective, you use the action verb, for example, to analyze what are the difference, to evaluate how does the integration or something like that. Okay, this is research question. The research focus is generative AI in education, and based on the research objective or research question, we can assume this is experimental research, because the first research objective mentioned about what the difference in academic performance between students utilize generative AI tool and those who do not. Meaning that there are 2 groups. So we can say this may be experimental research, and this is maybe as quasi-experimental research. Okay? Okay. Based on this complete 5 research objective for postgraduate level, what do you think about this research objective, whether it's a good or bad? Okay? So think about that. Go to chat room. For those who think this is a good research objective, type 1. For those who think this is not very good or bad research objective, type 2. Just type, don't send it yet. Okay, so that everybody think about this. 1, this is good. 2, this is not a good research objective. Okay, type 1 or 2, and then when I said submit or send or enter, everybody press enter. Yeah? Okay, I give you 30 seconds. Try to think about this based on this criteria. Based on this two first. But the problem here, I copy the research question, not the research objective. Okay. And then here go deeper, not broader. But you know what I mean. Yeah? Okay. So press 1 or 2 and press enter now. Okay. Thank you for those who have answered. Okay, majority choose 2. It's a bad. Okay. We don't have time to discuss. So I just give a simple explanation. Yeah? First, in terms of the research focus, is good. Because in educational technology, the focus is generative AI. That's good because this is a current trend. But the problem with this research objective, as you can see, let me try to analyze. Where's my pen? Okay, this is the pen. First, the first research objective, you want to check academic performance for those who use generative AI and those not. The second research objective, as you can see, he shifts the focus to critical thinking and problem solving. Third research objective, student learning outcome and engagement. Fourth research objective, educators challenge when try to incorporate generative AI. And number 5, acceptance or perceive of usefulness, the TAM model. Okay, so if this is the research objective, my first point is it's a good research objective in terms of the research focus. It aligns with our area for those who register or take educational technology. But the what we call the depth of the research is everything is on surface level. So it's not clear what's the problem that we want to solve. Is it engagement? Is it critical thinking? Is it issues and challenge? Is it acceptance? So this is not a good research objective in terms of the depth, because this is what we call he go to broader, not deeper. So you need to go deeper. After this, I show you example of a deeper research objective. Okay, this is not a good. So don't worry to say something related to this research objective. This is nobody research. Okay, this is only I just use ChatGPT. Okay, to give me a few suggestions on research objective, and then I select for those, and then I try to mix and match to become something like this. So this is not research from anybody, any of your friends. Okay, this is another example. This is gamification in education, and this is a correlational research. Same thing, yeah? Think about the focus and whether it's a good research objective or not. And again, this is not research objective, this is research question. Okay, while you think about the research area, so you can see the difference between research objective and research question. So research objective, you have to use an action verb. So this is the research question. What are the effects? So the research objective is to maybe to investigate what are the effects. Is there any correlation? This is a research question. So the research objective is to analyze. Is there any correlation? Something like that. So it's easier. Once you have research objective, just copy and paste and change from the action verb to a question. And it must be aligned between your research objective and research question. So if your research objective talk about effect, your research question also need to use effect. Don't change to impact or effect or whatever term that's different than effect. Because the first rules for a good research objective and research question, it need to be aligned with research question and research objective need to be aligned. So if your research question is there a correlation, so your research objective is maybe to investigate, is there a correlation? Okay, how about this one? 1 or 2. Type in the chat room and press enter. Okay, most of you choose 1 because in nature, the first one is bad, the second one most probably a good one. But this one also not a very good research objective or research question. Example. Why? As you can see here, the first research objective, what are the effects of gamification on student motivation and academic performance? Okay, so you have motivation, you have academic performance, and this is the target group. But then when you go to the second research objective, it talks about engagement. Remember, motivation and engagement is not the same thing. Okay? If the focus is motivation, your second research objective is supposed to focus on motivation. Unless your research problem talk about that two different things. You talk about motivation and engagement. So your research objective also can talk about motivation and engagement. But if your research problem is about motivation and suddenly your research objective on engagement, there are no continuity between your research problem and research objective and between your research objective 1 and research objective 2. Then we go to number 3. Number 3, see, you go to motivation. That's good. Align with number 1. Okay, that's why I said this is partly good, partly bad. But here, number 4, relationship between student prior exposure to gamified learning and their adaptability to new gamified educational tool. Nothing to do with motivation. Unless in your discussion in problem statement, in your research problem, you discuss about wants to motivate student, the student need to adapt with a new learning environment, something like that. Okay, that's okay. But if in the research problem, you did not discuss anything about the adaptability, and suddenly you have research question about adaptability, your examiner will ask you, why you want to focus on adaptability? Is there any problem among students with the adaptability, for example, suddenly? And this is the I mentioned. Sometimes you have a good research objective, 4 research objective, but and then you talk about your with your friends. Your friend mentioned, oh, I have 6 research question, or I have 5 research question, and then you mention, oh, I have only 4. How I want to add another research objective? Then you just choose one simple research objective, something like this. How do demographic factors, age, gender influence the effectiveness of gamification strategies in education? And we can assume this is nothing to do with the research problem. Okay? Why you want to focus on age, genders, for example, demographic factors, unless in your research problem you discuss about that one. But if even though you choose that area, is you can see that the depth of the research is still on the surface level. Okay, because you check the effect, you check the correlation, the complexity, and then these two nothing to do with motivation. Okay, so you need to go deeper. After this, I show you a few examples of what I meant by go deeper. Okay, this one you can, because we don't have time. Okay, for example, this one. Okay, this is one example that I can say a good, quite good research objective. This is master level, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, master level. Master for research. Okay, as you can see here, this is the continuity of research objective 1 up to 5. And as you can see, this is experimental research. The student designed a gamified learning activity for online pedagogy learning environment. You see, online pedagogy learning environment. What is pedagogy? Pedagogy is peer learning with technology. So meaning student teach student, student learn with their friends. And the focus is engagement in chemistry. So if you can see, the design part focus on engagement and pedagogy. And when he or she moved to the second, to evaluate the effect of gamification in online pedagogy learning environment on student 3 type of engagement. So from research 1 to research number 2, you can see the continuity. Okay, first to boosting engagement in general based on the design part. Then it goes specific to 3 types of engagement. And after the researcher found the outcome from this research question, she go further. Which gamification and pedagogy strategies, because she involved these two, pedagogy and gamification. So she hold the input of her research, gamification and pedagogy, but want to know further which elements gamification and pedagogy strategies that students think important to improve their engagement. Still on engagement, okay? Still on pedagogy, still on gamification. And then go deeper again to analyze how should the principle of gamification and pedagogy be implemented for engaging online learning environment. You see, she keep holding the same interest from research question 1 up to research question 5. And at the end, she triangulate all the research finding here to propose an online pedagogy gamified learning framework that enhance student engagement. See, the focus is still the same. Engagement, gamification, pedagogy. There are no acceptance, there are no motivation, there are no other external variables that this student focus. So it start with A, end up with A, and it go deeper, not broader. Okay, it's already 3:30. I have an idea. Okay, I have to speed. Okay, this is what I meant by action verb. This is example. So for example, for research objective 1, you identify. Research objective 2, you want to investigate. Research objective 3, you want to analyze. Research objective 5, maybe you want to evaluate. Don't just simply to investigate everything, investigate. Now we move to research question. I'm sure some of you have class at 4. I try to speed so that we can stop in 15 or 20 minutes. Okay, the difference between research objective and research question. For example, let's say the research focus is the effect of higher level cognitive question on visit. As I did mention earlier, if you have research objective, you just copy the whole research objective, paste in your research question, and change the verb here. For example, to evaluate the effect, what is the effect? Something like that. Don't ever change or don't ever type by yourself and then maybe you change the effect become effect, maybe impact, and higher level cognitive student and students learning in physics, suddenly here cognitive question among students, physics gone. You need to have a clear evidence that your research objective is aligned with your research question. And most of the time, if you have 5 research objectives, you're supposed to have 5 research questions, but it's not mandatory. Because sometimes you have 5 research objectives, you can have 6 or 7 research questions. Because in research objective 1, you have A and B, for example. To elevate the effect of higher cognitive on student learning in physics, for example, you have A, not a good example. Remember the engagement part? Okay, this one. To evaluate the effect of to clear. Okay, let me clear the screen first. Okay, for example here, to evaluate the effect of gamification, so you have one research objective here. Maybe you can have up to 3 research questions from this one. What is the effect of gamification in an online pedagogical learning environment on student behavioral engagement? Research question number 2. To evaluate the impact of gamification, blah, 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 on emotional engagement. Research question number 3. Okay? Meaning that you can have, for example, 5 research objectives, maybe 8 research questions. Okay. But all the important elements, all the important research objective here in your research objective need to be aligned with your research question. Okay, this is research objective. Okay, this is from one of my students already graduated, I think 6-7 years ago, Dr. Wan Nur Tasnim, now a lecturer in KL. Okay, her research is something related to online social collaborative and problem-based learning. OSCBL is online social collaborative problem-based learning. She combined social and collaborative learning with problem-based learning and use online learning to do the treatment. This is experimental research. Okay, let's say this is the complete circle of research objective for PhD level. Same thing, you can see. She start with analysis part to check the type of interaction. The focus is interaction. And then, based on the finding from this research question number 1, research objective number 1, she designed the learning environment, and then she evaluated the effect towards student cognitive performance and critical thinking. So there are 3 variables here. The input variables is in the learning environment, but she also want to check the interaction part, and the outcome is cognitive performance and critical thinking. But the main outcome is critical thinking. Cognitive performance is secondary. And as you can see, the focus is type of interaction, pattern, and then type of interaction that foster critical thinking. And based on all these research objectives, she proposed a model, okay, that can enhance student critical thinking. This is an example of what we call the continuity between research objective and go deeper, not broader, because you can see the focus is the same. Interaction from 1 up to 6. Critical thinking from number 3 up to number 6. Okay, this is the research objective, and as I did mention earlier, just copy and paste and it become a research question. Okay, here you can see there are 6 research objectives, but only 5 research questions. Okay, what's the difference? For educational technology program, this is sometimes for those who want to design a learning environment, learning activity, learning task, whatever treatment for experimental study, you design and develop. Here, you see, number 2, to design a learning environment. It's not compulsory to have that as a research question. As you can see, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is research question number 1. This is number 3, 4, 5, 6. So research objective number 2, there are no research question. There are no question how to design a learning environment. As you can see, there are no, but you can have that kind of research question, but it will impact your research design, research method, research data analysis, and finding and discussion. Because if you have that kind of research question, you have to justify and have a clear method on how you design the learning environment. So if the focus is not to explain how you design, so you don't need that research question. You only show evidence in your chapter 4. Because for those who design and develop research treatment, something like this, you have an extra chapter, chapter 4, design and development. So it's not compulsory to have research question related to the design part. This is type of research question, how to make sure your research question is not simply like an undergraduate level or master top course research. So you need to have at least 2 or 3 types of research question. For example, you have one very basic, descriptive. What types of digital tool? What is the level? Something like that. All descriptive. This is the foundation of research objective. You can have 1 or 2. But if you have 5 research questions, make sure not all research question is focused on descriptive. Only discuss about what is. Okay, what is the level? What is the what we call favorite tools or something like that. So this is what we call descriptive. And when you analyze the finding is descriptive research, mean and standard deviation, percentage, frequency, something like that. So for PhD or master full research, you cannot simply have descriptive research. Most of the time, most examiner want to have more. At least you have one inferential statistic. What is the relationship? What is the differences? Something like that. So that's why we have another type of research question. Causal and relationship question. What is the effect of frequent feedback? This is the cause and this is the relationship between the feedback and the performance, something like that. So this is usually inferential question or causal and relationship question. Don't simply stop here. And for experimental study, you always have this kind of comparative. What is the impact? What is the difference between treatment group and control group? So you want to check the impact. So for experimental study, it's good, even though it's not compulsory, but most of the time you need to have one research question to check the impact first. Then only you can go to check the relationship or whatever you want. Because there's a difference between comparative question, that is experimental research, compared to causal and relationship question. And for educational technology also, it's good how to go deeper. It's good for you to have one kind of research question that related to process. For example, after you check the impact or the effect, you have this kind of research objective. How? Because if you want to publish in journal, for example, most of index journal don't want to have only what is the impact. Okay, it's good, it's bad, it's significant. They want to know why, how. So if you have one research question related to how, it's good. This is always qualitative. Okay. So most of educational technology is good for you to go to mixed method, even though it's not compulsory. First, you get a general idea using quantitative, and then you go deeper with qualitative, and then you go deeper with the process part, something like this. Okay, this one we don't have time to discuss. This is the characteristic of strong. I will give a link so that you can read after this. Okay, research question also should drive research design. When you write your research objective or research question in chapter 1, you need to think about your chapter 3. If this is my research objective or research question, what is the instrument that I can use to detect or to uh, gather data to answer research question number 1? If you cannot think about the instrument, if you cannot think about the research approach, then you have a problem with your research objective. So for example, this kind of research objective, you can see the how, the what, the does, the do part. And then you easily can detect, oh, this is what type of research question. For example, this is how. How usually we go for qualitative. So meaning that if you have a research objective or research question that focus on how, rarely you use quantitative or questionnaire. Because you want to know the how part, better go for interview, better go for observation, better go for open-ended. So easily you can know this is qualitative and this is maybe the interview research. What do students think about the use of augmented reality? To get a data easily, you can use a questionnaire. So this is quantitative survey research, something like that. Okay. Does gamified learning increase student engagement more effective than traditional? You have two groups, then you know, oh, this is experimental research. Do teachers use digital tool differently based on the subjective? So this is the cost. This is the only cost. Cost comparative. Oh no, yeah, not cost comparative. This is cost comparative research. There are no outcome here. Okay, so based on the research question, you can easily detect, even though it's not 100% correct, but it easily can give you an opinion or suggestion about your research focus, research method, and later on research instrument. Okay, this is another example from one of my PhD student, Dr. Kofi Kupoyun. This I think research about 9 or 10 years ago. She already graduated in 2015, if I'm mistaken. Okay, as you can see, this what I meant by your research question will guide you towards your research design and instrument. Okay, for example, what is the impact of epistemic game and online collaborative discussion on achievement, AKC, higher order thinking? So she focused on 3 elements. So it easily can detect achievement based on achievement on test, AKC based on online collaborative discussion script, higher order thinking based on pre-test and post-test, and also online collaborative discussion. And this is pre-experimental research design, quantitative. And as you can see here, the 3 part here, how, so is qualitative, 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 and the instrument, interview, interview, and interview. Don't use how here, meaning that most of the time is qualitative, and then suddenly you have questionnaire here, quantitative. Because quantitative or questionnaire, even though you can use, but it's not very, what we call, reliable. Because based on survey, is quantitative. You cannot know the how part. It's really hard to detect the how part, yeah, based on quantitative part. And based on these 3 qualitative data, she triangulate the questionnaire, the quality finding to propose the framework. Okay, this is one example of how research question help you in terms of research design and research instrument. Okay, and then 2 more slides. This is another example from one of my PhD student, Dr. Aisha, about 7 or 8 years ago. Okay, it's almost the same like coffee. As you can see, there are 5 research questions here. First, impact. Second, how it impact based on 2. Most of my students, as you can see, the focus is 1 or 2 or not more than 3. As you can see here, higher order thinking and AKC. This is the outcome. don't focus too much. Okay, don't have higher order thinking, argumentative, engagement, motivation, and etc. Focus your dependent variables 2 or 3 or even 1. Okay, 1, 2 or 3, not more than 3 most of the time. Okay, as you can see here, same thing. Higher order thinking skill based on pre-test and post-test, quasi-experimental, meaning that have control group. The AKC part want to know whether how the student argue when they absorb knowledge. Okay, when they construct knowledge, how they argue about the knowledge. So of course, it's qualitative. The how does part, yes, interview and online discussion script, qualitative. What are types of process? She triangulate questionnaire and also discussion script and also data logging. Okay, so 3 types of data to answer this research question. How does from online discussion and interview, and the final one is triangulate the quantitative part and the qualitative part. And as you can see, the focus is the same, AKC and higher order thinking. Okay, and remember, a poorly formulated research question usually leads to wasted time and effort. Imagine you spending months or year collecting data, only and realize it doesn't actually answer what you set to investigate. That's why it's very essential, it's very important to invest time upfront to craft a clear research problem and focus research objective and question. Because the right question keeps you on track, while the wrong one sends all your work straight to here. Okay, so we don't want to waste your money, time and effort and everything go to this dustbin. So at the end, keep calm and formulate your research question, research objective, etc. So sorry I take longer than expected, even though I expect something like this around 90 minutes or so. So to wrap up, we already covered the importance of defining a good research question, research objective, and research problem, research objective, research question. Remember, as I did mention many times, a well-defined problem leads to a meaningful research outcome. I remember once my supervisor said, he said to me, Jamal, remember, a good researcher is like a good detective. Always ask the right question. So keep questioning and refining your ideas. Keep asking, if I do something like this, why? How so? Something like that. You argue with your own research problem, your own research question. Ask about why and how. And the keyword is, so what? Okay? My supervisor always, so what? If you want to do something like this, so what? You cannot stop answering so what. If you stop, meaning that you cannot justify your research problem or research question during Viva. So you keep asking, so what? If the engagement is important, so what? I want to use pedagogy, so what? Something like that. Okay? Why is it so important? So I think that's the end of my talk today's sharing session. So if you have any question, you always can ask your supervisor. Okay, I open if you have any question, 1 or 2 question before we stop. Okay, there's a question. Is there any different term effect and effectiveness? Kesan dan keberkesanan. Actually, there are no differences, but this is school of thought. Most of examiner, if not all, if you use the term effective, meaning that you need to justify, you need to evidence it's effective, meaning that you need a control group. Okay, meaning that your research design must be most of the time is good for you to go for quasi experimental. Because if you go quasi, meaning that you have a control group, you have a treatment group. So if somebody asks you, how do you want to, what's evidence that you say this is effective? Because I can see the difference between control group and treatment group. If you don't have a control group, my advice, don't use effectiveness. Just choose effect or impact. Impact is long term usually. Effect is short term. Okay, even though it's not a policy, it's not evidenced in any books, but most of the time, okay, based on my experience, effectiveness go for quasi, effect go for pre-experimental, meaning that there are no control group. If you talk about experimental research, what the difference between PhD, master, full research level? Okay, let me show you. Let me stop the. Okay, this card. Okay, let me show you example. Because last time when I give talk something like this, I have, where is it? Okay, this is one example of master research. Okay, you see, the use of online game in widening and retaining a vocabulary in cooperative learning. As you can see, maybe, okay, the focus of the research, for example here, check effectiveness, how the online game, they identify the characteristic to study perception. As you can see, it's quite simple, okay? It can be a master mixed mode research. And if you want to have this kind of research to be a full research, maybe you can add another one as easy as what I showed you earlier, just to propose a guideline on how to something like this. You triangulate all this data to propose something. But for PhD level, most of the time, the depth of research, for example here, this is master, as you can see, check the effectiveness, the how part, the characteristic, and suddenly she have a perception. It's not really aligned or not really important towards the research objective here, research problem. But it's acceptable if this is master research. But for PhD, you need to go beyond that. You need to go deeper. Most of the example that I shared earlier is PhD. Why I cannot move my window here? Okay. Okay, here. Okay, let's say this is the, let me make it bigger. Okay, this is PhD level, but let's say this is a master full research. Maybe she can stop. Let me, okay, here maybe just focus on one. Okay, let me delete this one. Okay, so maybe she delete one variable, from 3 become 1, and from these 3 process, maybe you just use 1. Okay, for example. So if you delete something like that, this one become, maybe it can be a master full research. Okay, compare the first one I show, it maybe is a PhD level. So the depth of the research is about the same, but the variables, for example, you can limit. For PhD, maybe 2 or 3, maybe for master full research, maybe 1, for example. And for example here, for PhD, maybe before she developed the learning environment, she do the analysis part. Remember the thing that all educational technology program student need to know about ID model. So the foundation of ID model is AD. You start with analysis, design, develop, implement, evaluation. So this part is analysis. For PhD, it's good for you to have this one, even though it's not compulsory. For master, you can omit this one. You just delete. You straight to the development part. Okay. So here you have 4 research objectives: develop, impact, how, formulate. This is master for research, for example. But here, this is PhD. Okay. Is there any other question? If there are no questions, thank you very much for your time. And next week, I don't know what's the topic. Okay, Dr. Fadil will share with the WhatsApp group the topic related to next week topic. So I hope this session beneficial and help some of you, if not all, to formulate your research problem, research objective, and research question. Okay, thank you very much all, and I pray for the best for all of you. Bye-bye.